So friends, we continue to monitor the news and events on the Ukraine-Russia front, and let's dive right into the Shalin, because the occupiers aren't letting up, targeting civilian and causing destruction. And yesterday the Russians launched a rocket attack on a multi-story residential building in Pokrovsk. Updated information from authorities revealed that 7 people lost their lives, 67 individuals were injured, including 29 police officers, 7 firefighters, and 2 children. We are clearing the rubble. Overnight, we had to suspend operations due to the high risk of further shelling, stated the Ministry of Internal Affairs. The occupiers initially struck the residential building, and then when rescues arrived, they targeted a nearby hotel, and as a result, among the casualties are firefighters. Overall, we can see that rocket strikes on Ukrainian territory persist. And now let's shift to the situation on the front lines. But before we begin, please give this video a thumbs, subscribe to the channel, and hit the bell icon to stay updated on all the latest news. And on the Zaporizhzhia direction, the Ukrainian forces have achieved confirmed success, which is indeed happening. The General Staff has confirmed that from Mala Takhmachka to Robotyne, the Ukrainian armed forces have achieved tactical success. And as we can see, the advancement is gradually continuing. Battles are now being recorded just 1.5 kilometers away from Robotyne, and the occupiers are shelling the populated area, attempting to prevent the Ukrainian armed forces from consolidating on new positions. However, the Ukrainian forces have sufficient artillery, ammunition, and equipment for the offensive in this area, and therefore their operation continues and success is on the side of the Ukrainian armed forces. Furthermore, on the Zaporizhzhia direction, yesterday the destruction of a Ka-52 helicopter with manpads was successfully accomplished. Commander of the Operational Strategic Group of Troops Tavria, Alexander Tarnavsky, reported this on Telegram. And in the Vuhledar direction, shelling continues along the entire front line. The occupiers were unable to reclaim any positions in the area of Staromayorsk, and the Ukrainian armed forces shattered all advancing enemy groups and forces, forcing them to retreat and seizing all attacks. And additionally, as we can see on the map, the Ukrainian armed forces managed to push Russian forces further away from Makarivka along the river, and now only shelling is being conducted on Staromayorsk and other liberated settlements. Thus, we await further developments. And in the Kherson direction, the occupiers also persist in targeting civilian population, and as a result of shelling on the city, 1 person has been killed and 7 others sustained injuries. And on the front line, the Ukrainian armed forces conducted a nighttime operation on the islets of Kherson region. They approached the occupiers' positions by boats and engaged in a powerful clash, significantly weakening the enemy. And there is video evidence confirming the action of our units. And meanwhile, on the Crimean bridge, the occupiers have once again announced that movement is blocked, and it appears that are attempting to restore the bridge, which suggests we may anticipate the deployment of new drones. And there are also reports of new explosions near Jankoy. And in the Avdiivka direction, the occupiers continue periodic attempts to break through to Avdiivka, but the Ukrainian forces are doing everything to prevent the Russian forces from advancing far and immediately repel them at the outskirts. Shelling of Avdiivka itself persists, and to the south, battles are ongoing near Krasnogorivka, and attempts to push the Ukrainian forces out of the vicinity of Mariinka continue. In addition, the settlement of Pobeda and other settlements along the route to the Kurakhivsky Reservoir are under shelling. And in the Bakhmut direction, shelling continues, and the occupiers are making advances from Ozaryanivka to Diliivka. However, their chances of a significant breakthrough are limited, and the Ukrainian forces are not allowing them to consolidate at the advantage lies with the Ukrainian side. And if we look at the geolocation map for the past week, it's evident that the confirmed number of strikes on the occupiers here is greater than the number of times the Russians shot the Ukrainian forces. And this indicates that the Ukrainian forces are gradually wearing down the Russian forces under Bakhmut until they reach a point where a decisive assault can be launched to liberate a large portion of territory. The ongoing strategy is to exhaust the Russian presence until the Ukrainian forces can initiate a successful offensive and regain control over the area. And in the Kreminna and Siversk area, following another defeat of the occupiers near Bilogorivka, the situation has stabilized, and the occupiers are now limited to shelling activities. And interestingly, according to a statement from the General Staff, the occupiers have shelled Kuzmine in this direction, which suggests that the Ukrainian forces units might attempt to break through there. Hence, the occupiers are shelling a populated area that, according to the map, remains under their control. And it's clear that tactical battles persist and the Ukrainian forces are striving to reclaim previously lost positions. And in the Svatove area, the situation is quite complex, and as we can see, the Ukrainian forces managed to take control of Novoyegorivka and some surrounding territory. However, it has been reported that the occupiers were able to infiltrate in the direction of Novoselivsk, completely overrunning their nearly destroyed village. And meanwhile, in the Kupiansk area, the situation remains challenging. The occupiers had been amassing reserves for a considerable period of time, and now, for several days, they have been launching assaults on Ukrainian forces' positions, frequently changing their directions of attack. And currently, there are reports of heavy shelling of populated areas in the direction towards Kupiansk and the movement of occupant forces towards Petropavlovka, which is located approximately 3.5 kilometers from Kupiansk. And according to Ukrainian Armed Forces reports, their troops stationed in this area have been equipped with every necessary for defense, and efforts are underway to destroy the enemy. And as of now, there have been no changes or significant advancements by the occupiers. And meanwhile, Russian propaganda knows no bounds. Now Russia is set to educate children in schools with new history textbooks that have been completely rewritten starting from the 1970s, including a new section about the war in Ukraine, which they traditionally refer to as a special military operation. And Vladimir Medinsky, an aide to the President of Russia and a co-author of the textbook, stated that the textbook for high school students will carry the status of official state history textbooks. In essence, this is the first textbook of its kind since the collapse of the USSR, he said. And as reported by the RBC, the new textbook entirely revokes and rewrites sections dedicated to the 1970s, 1980s, 1990s, and 2000s, while also adding a section about Russia's war against Ukraine. And specifically, Russian propaganda outlines the following key points in the section about Russia's invasion of Ukraine, referred to as the special military operation. So at the beginning of the 21st century, as the textbook states, Russia proceeded with the assumption that the future lay in developing amicable relations with the United States and the West. However, the authors of the textbook know that the strengthening of Russia in early 2000s didn't sit well with the United States. And the idea of the West became to destabilize the situation within Russia. Initially, this was done along its borders. For this purpose, overt Russophobia was sponsored in former Soviet republics. According to the authors of the textbook, Ukraine was being prepared to play the role of the main battering ram against Russia by the United States and NATO. And several generations in Ukraine, starting from the 1990s, were raised with an aversion to Russia on neo-Nazi ideas, the text reads. And today, any dissent into Ukraine is harshly persecuted, opposition is prohibited, and anything Russian is declared hostile, begins the paragraph titled Ukraine, an ultranationalist state. And meanwhile, the Joe Biden administration intends to announce a new military aid package of $200 million to Ukraine on Tuesday, August 8th. Reuters reports this information citing American officials. The publication notes that the Biden administration is beginning to allocate $6.2 billion in funds that were identified after a bookkeeping error by the Pentagon resulted in an overestimation of the cost of the billion-dollar aid package to Ukraine. So in May, the Pentagon announced that it had mistakenly calculated a higher than guaranteed cost of American military aid when employees use the replacement value instead of the depreciated value to calculate the cost of ammunition, rockets, and other equipment worth billions of dollars sent to Ukraine. Reuters states Ukraine needs arms that can be dispatched from US warehouses within days or weeks to continue its fight against Russian aggression. The accounting error worked in Kyiv's favor by allowing more equipment to be sent. And as previously reported, Russia provided weapons and equipment to the territorial defense forces. The Russian president didn't stop there and decided to allocate heavy weaponry to the Rosguardia. British intelligence explained why Putin wants to do this. Rosguardia has around 200,000 personnel and has existed in its modern form since 2016. On August 4th, Vladimir Putin signed a law allowing for the provision of heavy armament to Rosguardia, and about a month prior to this, the Wagner private military company was eliminated. So British intelligence emphasizes that despite claims that the structure performed exceptionally during the operation against the Wagner PMC, there is no evidence that Rosguardia took any effective actions against Wagner, even though it was precisely this internal security threat that the structure was created to respond to. So given that Zolotov previously proposed that heavy armament include artillery and attack helicopters, this decision may mean that the Kremlin is strengthening Rosguardia as one of the key structures responsible for ensuring the regime's security, the overview states. And that's all for now. Thank you for watching and see you next time. Bye bye.